Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the National Water and Sewage Authority in Nawassa, I warmly welcome you to today's press conference, where we are officially announcing the commencement of work under the UKCIF Southern St. George Water Supply Expansion Project. My name is Jamila Lewis. I am Nawassa's Communication Supervisor, and I will be your moderator for today's press conference. Today marks a significant milestone, not just for Nawassa, but for the people of Grenada. The UKCIF project represents a major investment in our nation's water infrastructure aimed at ensuring a safer, more reliable, and climate resilient water supply, particularly for businesses and residents in the southern corridor of the island. This afternoon's press conference provides an opportunity to share critical updates on the project scope, its implementation timeline, and its anticipated impact on thousands of Grenadians. Ladies and gentlemen, it also signals the beginning of an ambitious phase of national development, one that will enhance lives, strengthen resilience, and modernize our water systems for future generations. We are very pleased to be joined by key stakeholders who will play an integral role in the successful execution of this project. Mr. Wim Cox, Manager of Nawassa's Planning and Development Department. Mr. Nigel John, Project Coordinator for the UKCIF project. Superintendent Paul Christopher, Head of Operations at the Royal Grenada Police Force. Assistant Superintendent Randall Batiste, Head of Traffic, Royal Grenada Police Force, and Mr. Kevin Blash, Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Physical Development, Public Utilities, Civil Aviation, and Transportation. These individuals form part of a broader team, including contractors and engineers, tasked with bringing this vision to life. But before we hear from them, I would like to place on record Nawassa's sincere gratitude to the Government of Grenada, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the UK government through the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Fund for their invaluable support and partnership. To members of the media joining us online, we thank you for your continued interest and support. Your role in informing and educating the public is vital to the transparency and success of this and all future development efforts. At this time, I will invite Mr. Wim Cox, Manager of Nawassa's Planning and Development Department, to bring remarks. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis, and just to also say a pleasant good afternoon to the listening audience, media personnel, and the general public as a whole. Nawassa is currently implementing a series of initiatives aimed at our mandate of providing an adequate, reliable supply to Grenadians. This particular project will see the augmentation of the water supply to the south of the island and by extension the eastern side of the island. The project has a budget of about 20 million US dollars, and it promised to deliver improved water supply, reduction in our non-revenue water, improve resiliency to climate change, as well as improve customer service to our customers. The project, and Mr. John is going to get into the details of it, but some key components of the project would include the access to water, or the water service to elevated areas in the south of the island that is normally challenged by from a water supply standpoint during the dry season, as well as improve access to water in a general sense. The project like many other projects, has its challenges. We anticipate traffic delays. The project has its funding limitation, all of which we would have done everything that we can to date to mitigate against these issues. We've already seen issues developing with residents and so on and so forth, who has been seeking information on the project, which we were happy to provide. NAWASA continues to make our customers and the public our first priority, and this is just one of many of the initiatives that we are going to continue to do to ensure that the public is properly informed and that the impacts of the project is minimized and that livelihoods can continue to the best way possible. As a result, the project has implemented initiatives like a grievance mechanism, where anybody impacted on the project can reach out to NAWASA through our website, our communications department, and the project also has a separate community liaison team, persons of which you can reach out to, all in an effort to ensure that the public is impacted as minimal as it possibly can, because that is NAWASA's top priority, to implement projects, improve the lives of Grenadians, but doing so with minimum impact possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wim Cox, Manager of NAWASA's Planning and Development Department. The UKCIF project is a $350 million grant-funded program administered by the Caribbean Development Bank and financed by the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO. It is designed to enhance climate resilience, promote inclusive economic growth, and reduce poverty across the Caribbean. To provide more details on this project in a Grenada context, I will now invite Mr. Nigel John, Project Coordinator for the UKCIF project in Grenada. Mr. Nigel John.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis, and good afternoon to everyone listening to us today. This presentation is not meant to be a technically onerous presentation, but to give sufficient information for the public to understand, first, where the project is happening, some key features of the project, and importantly, some of what we refer to as environmental and social safeguards on the project, so that members of the public can be, as Mr. Cox just mentioned, impacted as minimally as possible. So first, a little on the project location. And it is basically on the southwest of the island. It is starting at Concord, and it will end down at the tip of Point Celine, basically where Sandals is located. So that is, as you can see, the general area in which the project shall be undertaken. Now, it's in two lots, and at Concord, the work would include a construction of what we refer to as a check dam. Now, persons would recognize that when there is heavy rainfall, and it was brought to an alarming scale during Hurricane Beryl last year, when the system had to be shut down for quite some time because the current intake had been clogged by silt and vegetative debris. A check dam is basically a smaller intake just upstream that will trap or catch a lot of that debris in times of heavy weather or inclement weather, so that the intake from which water is pumped is not clogged in that manner. And the blue line, basically we have new pipeline that is running from the intake. It will go to the treatment plant, which will be upgraded, and you can see the treatment plant there. We basically have minimal treatment at the moment, which is some pressure filters and some chlorination, and we'll be expanding that to include some additional siltation, additional filtration, and chlorination. Then there will be new pipes running all the way to the intersection with the Concord Village Road and the Western Main Road. There will be no works as far as laying new pipes along the Western Main Road between the Concord Western Main Road intersection and St. George's. However, down at Molyneux, there will be two new water tanks constructed. Each would be about 360 gallons in capacity, and when those two are constructed, in addition to the tank already up at the treatment plant in Concord, the storage capacity within the network would be tripled. And that is what we refer to as Lot 1. Lot 2 now is new pipeline from Sendell Tunnel, or the exit of Sendell Tunnel, right, near the base of the steps that go up to the hospital. And those pipelines would go all the way down to Point Saline. They will be running along the main road. As we recognize, our roads are narrow, and there are no, except for some parts, like especially along the Kirani James Boulevard, there's no opportunity to lay pipes on the side of the road because it's all private property on the side of the road. So we basically have to ensure that we, in order to lay our pipes properly and safely without having to run through persons' property, they must be laid as they're laid at the moment under the road. Okay? Along with the new water supply pipelines, we also would be within the St. George's area laying new sewer pipes and upgrading the collection and disposal of sewage within St. George's. The sewer pipe infrastructure would be from Sendell Tunnel through St. George's all the way to the Aline Francisque roundabout. That is a roundabout by Old Regal. Okay? So, that would be Lot 2. Yeah, that's better? Excellent. So, just to recap, Lot 1 would be works in the Concord area and 2 additional water tanks at Molyneux. And Lot 2 would be new pipes running from Sendell Tunnel all the way to Point Saline and sewerage, that is for waste water within St. George's. I wanted to speak a bit about the environmental and social safeguards, because very often projects are implemented and the public will think only about the actual construction that we're doing and not having an appreciation for what is done in the background. Now, this project is governed by a set of safeguards detailed in something called an environmental and social management plan. And this would have been developed after lots of consultation by experts. The ESMP, or the Environmental and Social Management Plan, basically makes some recommendations on how to mitigate anticipated negative impacts that may affect the communities as well as the natural environment persons. Okay? Now, there's a question that has been asked many a times. What are we doing about the abstraction of water or the extraction of water, and how are we going to ensure that the falls do not then run dry? Now, in the designs of this project, there is something referred to formally as an environmental flow. And what that is there is a minimum flow of water that must be maintained downstream of the intake. And when I say that minimum flow, it does not mean that it will only be at that flow. That minimum flow is what is needed for the falls to be sustained and for the natural ecosystem downstream of the intake to continue to exist. And there is going to be flow gauges installed to ensure that at least minimum flow is maintained. Once the flow falls below that, NAWASA will not continue to extract water at the rate that they will be extracting water. In other words, they will reduce the amount of water they extract to ensure that the falls will never run dry. And naturally, the stakeholder engagements form an integral part of this project. We have done many, and we shall continue to do. And in addition to the stakeholder engagements, which are literally face-to-face or virtually with specific communities, there will be more and more press releases to inform the public as to what we're doing. Now, quickly, I will just give the public a sense as to where we are as it relates to implementation. We had bought a bunch of goods already. They're on the ground, they're down in Point Saline, close to the airport, and those goods would include all the pipelines, valves, hydrants, meters, everything that we would need to construct this project is sitting on the ground. Now, let's talk about the works, the actual construction. Where are we as it relates to construction? I mentioned the two lots, Concord and St. George's to Point Saline. The contracts have now been signed. Both contractors have mobilized. The works for on-site for Lot 1 has actually commenced. That is up in Concord, where the contractor has already done the surveys, laid out, and he's arranging his staging areas and so on. And very soon, road cutting will commence. It's expected that those will be completed, that is the road installation of pipes onto the road, substantially by end of October this year. And for Lot 2, it is expected that next week, that's the week of June 23, works would actually commence on site. All construction is expected to be complete by February 6 next year. And that should give a very good overview as to what we're doing and where we are at the moment. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Very much, Mr. Nigel John, Project Coordinator for the UKCIF project in Grenada. Well, of course, we are coming to a part that I think that most persons will be more interested in hearing, and that's the issue of traffic. We are fully aware that traffic management will be a major concern for commuters, especially along the corridor from the Sendall Tunnel right through to the entire south of the island. Over the past year, we have been working closely with the Royal Grenada Police Force to ensure that there are adequate plans in place ahead of the project execution. We are very happy to have with us today two representatives from the RGPF to speak on this matter. First, Superintendent Paul Christopher, Head of Operations, and he will be followed by Assistant Superintendent Randall Batiste, who is the Head of Traffic at the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis, and a special good afternoon to the persons listening to this press conference this afternoon. Let me start by saying collaboration is one of the things that we in the RGPF we actually pride ourselves on, and hence the reason why we are here today. And collaboration is actually what gets work done. It's definitely NAWASA and the other entities. They're quite aware that they have the technical capabilities. They do what they have to do, but of course, without us, without other entities, the smooth flow and actually achieving the job, could never be done without collaboration. Let me say that it is this project, of course, it is necessary, and we believe that it is going to impact a number of traffic issues, be it vehicular, pedestrian traffic. It will affect businesses. It will affect the normal flow and the normal day-to-day life of every Grenadian, in my view. It therefore means that we ought to plan better. It puts us in a position whereby if we are living for destinations, we actually have to add 2 to 3 hours and move ahead very early and be assertive in our movements going forward. I want to say that your cooperation, the general public, is definitely needed in that regard. The more we cooperate, is the safer we are, the safer we become. In fact, with this project, I just want to say we, as the RGPF, and by extension, you, the general public, will definitely benefit. Be it we will probably be positioned with more fire hydrants. If not fire hydrants, we will be having more water in that regard. So your cooperation it basically lends to the overall contribution of what NAWASA is going to do. I want to speak specifically on this issue of road rage. I want to speak to patience. I want to speak to respect for the wardens. We have to be patient going forward. And so this is something that we will have to experience probably for the next 6 months thereabout. And so you will find the wardens, they will be telling you to stop and go through signs. Let the signs, the stop and go does not depict the ordinary lady or the ordinary man you see in your community. But let it be some instruction. Let it be something that will protect you, safety of yourself, safety of the workers who would be on site. So let us be sane human beings. Have respect for the wardens. Take the instructions. We will be impatient, I know. Sorry what it's like. Let us be a little more patient and let us not let the road rage get into us. I do believe that we are good people, and we are definitely going to put on a good show come for the next few months. One may ask the situation with Carnival and other large activities coming up. We are going to work with NAWASA coming close to those times to make it as safe as possible. There will be obstacles and little hindrances, but again, we ought to be patient and we ought to be tolerant with what is happening, what is existing at the time. So again, I from the RGPF, Sabatis will speak to you more on the traffic and other areas, but I really want to take this opportunity to let you, the general public or the motoring public, the pedestrians, etc., we ought to be patient. And so NAWASA is definitely, at the end of the day, together with all other entities, is going to have a good product at the end of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Paul Christopher. At this time, I would introduce Assistant Superintendent Randall Batiste, who is the head of traffic. Mr. Batiste.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lewis, and let me take the opportunity to say a pleasant good afternoon to the viewing and listening public of this press conference. And as you know, we have seen a rapid increase in the number of motor vehicles on our nation roads, and also taking into consideration the road infrastructure, the width of our roads, to facilitate such project as mentioned by the previous speakers. It is absolutely necessary for RGPF traffic department to put the necessary traffic arrangements in place that can facilitate such a project. I want to mention as well that the information that I am sharing here with you now is just to give you an expectation as to what you should look forward to for the next 6 months in terms of our traffic arrangement. But you will get a full detailed traffic management plan for that project before the commencement of the project. And the reason why we are not in such a position to give you that plan at this present time, there are some bypass roads that may be of use to do some diversion that we are working along with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Works, and we have to do some drive-through to make sure the condition of the road, the nature of the road is adequate to facilitate the possible diversions that will need to be implemented for us to have better control and to mitigate or limit the congestion that we foresee may occur during the project. So some of the things that the motoring public and the general public should expect while the project is in process is you will expect delay of traffic, and delay of traffic will be along that entire corridor from where the project will be happening. And I just want to break down the project a little bit so persons can have a clearer understanding that there are 5 different sections of roads where the project will be taking place from Point Saline all the way to the Sendal Tunnel. And just to break it up in the 5 sections of roads, we have from Point Saline to the CARICOM or Troubadour roundabout will be one portion of road, and then you have from the CARICOM roundabout to the traffic light by Food Fair is another one. Then from the traffic light by Food Fair to Belmont traffic light is another one. And you also have one from Belmont traffic light traveling along Kirani James Boulevard, the port, the Caranage, onto the Sendal Tunnel. And then you have one from Silver Sands going back to the Food Fair traffic light. And all this work or operations will be taking place simultaneously. So I kind of break it down in that way so persons will understand that while all this work are taking place, you will have what you call delay in traffic. You will have one-lane traffic in some cases. You will have one-way traffic in some cases along that entire route. And what you will see resulting as a result of that, we have some what is considered now as minor roads or secondary roads will now become primary or main thoroughfare. And I'm speaking specifically here now to roads like Montu, Belmont Public Road, and Grandans Valley. This will be the main thoroughfare for persons going in and out of Grandans. We'll have to use those roads. And we already start our engagement with residents along those areas, notifying them of what is to come and also informing them that the modus operandi cannot be the same in order for us to facilitate the project and for everyone to be in that comfortable space while traveling along the roads, and the way we can limit the congestion on our roads. These roads now will be strictly no parking. So no vehicles will be allowed to park along the Grandans Valley Public Road, the Montu Public Road, and the Belmont Public Road, because these roads will be active two-way traffic. So we want to urge and we look forward to the continuous compliance of the motoring public in that regard, so we can have a smooth flow. Definitely the general public and the motoring public will be affected by this project, but let us see the bigger picture here as a whole outlined by the project manager and the manager of planning right now as to the importance of such a project, and it's a win-win for all Grenadians. So we really want to encourage the motoring and general public to understand the reason for such traffic plan. And as I said, we look forward to your cooperation, and we expect full compliance from each and every one of you, taking into consideration the importance of such a project. As we move forward, as I said, you will definitely get a detailed traffic management plan which will outline the time of day for the different type of traffic operation, be it one way, be it one lane, and also be mindful that there are possibilities where you can have work during the day and also work during the night. So we look forward to your cooperation. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent of Police, Mr. Randall Batiste, who is also the head of traffic at the Royal Grenada Police Force. We are very grateful today to have with us Mr. Kevin Blash, and Mr. Blash is the Chief Technical Officer attached to the Ministry of Infrastructure, and we are aware that there will also be a number of complementary projects by the Government of Grenada that will be taking place while NOWASA is also doing its work under the UKCIF project. And at this time, I would invite Mr. Blash to speak to us about this project. Mr. Blash.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Good afternoon to all of my colleagues here at the head table and to the viewing public. So my comments this afternoon need not be lengthy, they're brief. But as speakers before me would have mentioned, in the spirit of collaboration, this is a project that the government of Grenada is very keen on seeing implemented and come into fruition. We have taken various steps in the previous months and years in anticipation for this project coming on stream. And as ASP Batiste would have mentioned, a lot of the bypass roads would now become major thoroughfares that we have been considering. In this regard, for the persons who live along those thoroughfares, they would have already seen that the government would have commenced various projects to do enhancements to those roads, so that when we do have delays on the main road, through Granans in particular, that we could now have some redundancy in the network to divert traffic to those areas. As he alluded as well, in the coming days we will do a series of drive-throughs along those various five sections of the project, just to verify that the works that we have done are to a state that is sufficient to allow traffic to flow there safely. In fact, over this weekend we do have some planned roadworks as well along the Granans main road as well as through the valley, just to further enhance the quality of the road infrastructure as well. In the longer term, we've also put more major plans on pause just to allow the pipes to be laid, because we don't want to run into a situation where we have a freshly paved road and then now us having to come in to cut it to put on new pipes. Nobody, I think, would like that to happen, and this is why, for example, once this project is completed as scheduled next year, then we would then be able to roll out more intense works to repair the road, at least from the airport back up to the cliff, as well as along the Granans main road, all the way through along the Carnage and to the tunnel as well. Additionally, not tied to this project specifically, we also have plans to repair the road through the Granans Valley, and then in collaboration with NASA as well. I think they would also be placing some pipes there, but that is something that you would be privy to closer to that actually taking place as well. So again, just to double down in the spirit of collaboration, we expect the motoring public to be mindful of their travels. Ideally, you should be planning your routes based on your destination, in the sense that you stick to the direction that you basically heading to. So in a sense, if you have no local traffic being on the Granans main road, then it might be ideal for you to pass through Springs, down through the valley, and then head down, if you head into the airport or so. So it is essentially just to just remind persons that we're doing our part, and we hope that you would collaborate with us as well to make things happen. So please pay attention to any advisories on the radio, in the newspapers. Pay attention to signage. just to ensure that you are safe and you don't find yourself in any quandary as a result of the works ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin Blash, Chief Technical Officer attached to the Ministry of Infrastructure. I think it's a time that many of us are looking forward to from the NAWASA, and I can tell you that it's a time when we open the floor for members of the media to ask their questions, raise any concerns they may have. I know we have a few persons online. We are asking that as you are about to ask, before you ask your question, that you're going to state your name, the media house that you represent, so at least our stakeholders here will be able to speak to you. We want you also to keep your questions as brief as possible, keep it focused, so that we can have adequate time so that we can be able to address you. So we do have at least as a Linda Straker. I notice you are online, and also we have MTV. Please indicate by raise of hand if you are interested in asking a question to any member of the panel. We have a question from Linda Straker. Linda?
Hello, good afternoon to you and members of your panel. After listening to quite a few questions to ask for clarity. I'm going to start first with either Mr. Cox, or probably you can give the answer. Recently, we would have seen on the news and of a small protest in the Concord area, where some of the people who what is going to happen at the start of the project, and the area from the Concord Falls to the main road, what are we expecting to see happen there?
All right. So the questions from Concord Fall to the main road, what it is we expect to happen, and there is something relating to the mall in your area. Mr. Nigel is going to speak to that, Linda.
All right, thank you. I hope you can hear me clearly. All right, so this would be, I would kind of rephrase the question in my mind first. You asked at the start of the project, but I'm assuming you mean when construction begins, because just for clarity, the project has already started. It started quite some time ago, and some of the activities that have happened so far in the Concord area included actually community consultations. There were 3 so far, dating back. The first one was somewhere around October last year. We've also had in April, we've had in June. And later on today, the contractor would also be having a consultation with the community starting at 5 o'clock, I think, at the church up at Concord. But as it relates to construction, there would be reinforced concrete works going on to build a check dam upstream of the current intake. There would be some repairs and upgrades to the existing intake. There will be a new pipeline installed from the intake down to the water treatment plant. The water treatment plant would be upgraded and expanded to increase its capacity. Currently, it's about 600,000 gallons a day output from the water treatment plant. That would be increased to about 1 million gallons per day. So that is the work for there. And then from the water treatment plant, there would be new pipeline run all the way down to the intersection with the Concord Village Road and the Western Main Road. That is down where the bus stop is, opposite that shop along the Western Main Road. These new pipes will be run under the road because, as I would have mentioned, there is no easement or no space on the side of the roads to allow running of any of the pipes. If we were to try to do that on the side of the road, we'll be running it in persons' private lands, or we would have to go and purchase persons' land and displace people. This project does not seek to displace anyone or remove anyone from their homes in order to execute the project. As a result, as the police would have, our two colleagues from the Royal Grenada Police Force would have mentioned, there would be traffic interruptions. However, in order to minimize those interruptions, quite a bit of the work shall be done actually at night. Those of us who know the Concord Road understands how narrow it is. So where we can alleviate the hindrances, we will alleviate the hindrances, but in the time that we have available to us, works must proceed at speed. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that's not a light for me, but can you just explain what the tanks that you said that is going to be built in Molyneux, where exactly in Molyneux would they be? And what would be the capacity?
Okay, just to the north of where the road would have been repaired, before you get to, Freedom Street, so it's up over, there's a large reinforced concrete retaining wall there at the moment. So the tanks are actually going to be on lands just above where that reinforced concrete wall is, as I said, just north of the limits of where the road has been recently repaired. And there will be two tanks. Each one would have a capacity of 360,000 gallons. So they're a similar capacity to the existing tank that we see, that blue tank up at the Concord Water Treatment Plant. So the total capacity in the network would be tripled when those two tanks are now constructed.
Add to and to provide clarity and for the avoidance of doubt, this project is going to be implemented similarly to all of the projects implemented by NAWASA, where we would engage the community. If in the opinion of the community, the engagement is not sufficient, we intend to continue those engagement until that we're satisfied, that the community is satisfied that we've done enough, we've answered all of their queries, and we have been doing that. The contractor, as Engineer John mentioned, has his responsibilities for community engagement as well, and that starts what he would have started already, but it continues this afternoon with a meeting. NAWASA is going to be present at the meeting to provide further clarity and any additional doubts or concerns that the public may have, as we continue to reiterate that our first priority is ensuring that the public is aware of what's happening, and whatever we do meets their interests before everything else.
Mr. Provide information as to where people could file their complaints and how much persons should expect it to be employed on that project for its duration.
The grievance mechanism, I'm not sure if it's there already, but it's going to be on our website. It's going to be, you could pass at our offices. It's a leaflet that outlines, what you could do, what you could say as it relates to the project. And we say anything, anything that impacts you, that you believe that is not addressed, or we may have missed or have some not seen or not considered, we have that at that platform. So in addition to it being online and so on and so forth, you could just step into NAWASA's office and just say, hey, the project is impacting me negatively. These are the issues, these are the concerns. Rest assured it's going to be taken up immediately and addressed as swiftly as we possibly can. Yeah, the number of persons. The contractor would have presented the the plan, it's not static. At different stage of the project, you'll have different people employed. From a number standpoint, we anticipate maybe 40, 50 people overall. But again, as I say, it's going to be at different intervals depending on what's happening at any one time or the other. What I could add is that the contractor would have already conducted a job fair in the community to encourage, well, to inform persons of the project coming on stream, and also to see what are the specialties that are there that they can capitalize on. So that has already happened in the vicinity, in the village of Concord. As per usual, all of our projects always look at enhancing and impacting the community, and encouraging employment creation in whichever village that we go to. So this project is no different, and all of that was embedded in part and parcel of the contractor's responsibility.
My final question for now is, this project is taking place in the official wet or hurricane season. The anticipated date for completion is February 2026. Was that completion date based on calculated contingents that the possibility exists of flooding, rain, hurricane, or was it calculated to complete in February on using normal working patterns and that there will be no interruptions?
Every project that is undertaken by every engineering project considers, when they're doing the programming, or when we're doing the programming, when contractors are doing the programming, the prevailing conditions and anticipated risk. So when you mention normal working patterns, that is actually normal to consider those risks and so on. And there is actually a risk management plan prepared. It shall be updated. There's a risk register that was actually discussed earlier today, in fact, with the funding agencies and so on. So yes, risks have been considered. We do recognize that it's within the season, but there is no option, given the time available for completing this project, to simply say we're going to do nothing until next year and start, because everything has to be finished by beginning of February 2026. This is not a date that we've just made up. It's based on the availability of funding for the project, just for clarity.
Thank you very much, Linda Straker. I do see MTV News, Troy Gill, or any other person. Can you just you're unmuted already, so you can go ahead with your question to the panel.
Yes, good afternoon, Jamila and everyone else on the platform. We have just one question. I think Linda would have asked several questions and wanted to ask. My question is, outside of these consultations and community engagements, what other factors are being considered as it relates to mitigating the impact to the livelihoods of the individuals in the Concord area, and also as it relates to their water supply? Because these were some of the concerns that was raised by the business people and residents in Concord.
That question. How different individuals or communities consider that they may be impacted, we would gather that information through the consultations. However, in the project design, using experience from prior projects, lessons learned, and so on, we would also consider the risks to livelihoods, the risks to displacement, risks to safety, public safety, risks to access. So for instance, some of what we have considered is, what of emergency access? You have a situation where the road has been trenched to lay pipes, but an emergency vehicle needs to pass. What plans are in place, and how we address those eventualities? We would hope we will never have such an eventuality, but the fact is, it can happen. So in our planning and in our continuing discussion and evolution of the risk mitigation plan, these have been considered. Now, part of the issue of livelihoods, Cox would have mentioned the job fair, because we do understand that anytime we're doing a public project, anywhere that is going to be dealing with roads, drainage, and so on, there would be issues related to impacting lives and livelihoods wherever the project is being undertaken. And this is especially so when it is not a single site, like you're building a school or something like, or an office complex, but you are doing work along road. It means that the project site stretches over several miles. So therefore, if you were in a section in one area and somebody has to get to 1.5 miles of the road, what do you do? So I would have mentioned the issue of work times earlier on, and these are some of the considerations given in order to try to mitigate or minimize the negative impact. However, there's also the positive risk that we consider. And what is an example of that positive risk? We mentioned the job fair. Persons who may be impacted negatively in one sphere may have the opportunity to provide services to the project. People need to eat. There will be lots of persons employed. They will need food. When you're up close to the falls, persons are not going to leave to go home, all the way down, but so there's an opportunity to provide food and beverage services. There'll be an opportunity to provide warden services. There'll be an opportunity to provide security services for materials stored and the site offices and so on. And the job fair would have actually exposed the community to a number of the opportunities. Now, I'm speaking of Concord here, however, remember, this is one lot. And when there are operations happening along the main road in Grand Anse, there are hotels, boutique hotels. There are people's offices, including my own office, that is going to be along the route. How do I get to that office? The project would impact livelihoods, not just in Concord, but everywhere along the route. And there are persons who are living maybe in Grenville, but they're working in Grand Anse. Their livelihoods are going to be impacted. We have the vendors market on Grand Anse Beach, where there are lots of vendors. How do they get their stocks to and from in order to function? So consideration is given to the impact, potential negative impact on livelihoods all the way along. So we're doing things like ensuring you have the metal sheets that can drop over the trench so someone can cross. Someone may be needed to get to the hospital and they're up in one of the side roads in Belmont, of Greystone area. They come down, we can't ask them to move home, so they will have to be able to get out of home and in. So notwithstanding the prohibition on movement of traffic, as the CTO put it, local traffic in an area, remember there are persons living within that area who would need to traverse back and forth, and their livelihoods and their safety and security and emergency access would be impacted. There's something I also want to mention here. The question is not asked, but just in case the question is not asked, and that is the provisions for persons who have particular special needs, persons with disabilities and so on. We have the schools for special needs in the Limes, and this project team is working closely with organizations representing persons with disabilities to ensure that we take on board whatever specific special needs that they may have, including movement. There are persons on the autism spectrum, for instance, who require a certain amount of familiarity and routine, and how do we address the situations when they have to be taken out of the normal routine. And the persons, the organization representing has been working with us, and we have actually put on a disability inclusion workshop that has been quite successful, and those organizations would have attended and given us quite a bit of data and guidance as it relates to how we must make provisions within our project to address those particular special needs persons. Thank you.
To add further, we can continue to reiterate our people first attitude, behavior towards the project, and this project would have allow NAWASA to pay better interest to the particular persons with disabilities issue, and we've conducted a number of workshops among our teams, just change our whole mindset in terms of how we treat with our works going forward. So just to note that NAWASA continues to prioritize this, and we're doing all we can to ensure that the impact to the motoring public, pedestrians, etc., is as minimal as it possibly can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cox. Not sure if there are any more questions from the media. I'm not seeing any raised hands, so I'm assuming that there are no more questions to be asked of the team. Well, if that's the case, we want to say a special thank you to members of the media who joined us today for this live press conference. We have been monitoring a number of pages, the Office of the Prime Minister, Government of Grenada, GIS, Mikey, NAWASA's Facebook pages, and there are a few comments that we will be dealing with after. For the residents of Concord, there is a stakeholder engagement this afternoon being put on by the contractor. So I've noticed we have 2 residents from Concord that have made comments that we will be addressing those at that stakeholder engagement this afternoon. You will have a team from NAWASA, and you will also be graced with the presence of the parliamentary rep, Honorable Kireen James, as well. So we're just asking persons in the Concord community to come out and be a part of this discussion. Let us hear what your concerns are, how we will be able to mitigate the impact of whatever you think will be an impact for you, and we are going to work with you to ensure that at the end of it all, Grenada wins, Concord wins, Molyneux wins, from Sendall Tunnel right through to Point Celine, everyone wins. So that's the aim of this project. Grenada will win. Well, we are about to wrap up, but I would give each of our speakers an opportunity to say some closing remarks. I'm going to start first with CTO. I started with Mr. Cox first, so I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to wrap up back to me.
Okay, great. So good afternoon again, everyone. I just wanted to close off by saying, again, we look forward to collaborating with all of the members of the team to have this project become a success. Thank you.
Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you once again. And I just want to say a special thank you to NAWASA and everyone responsible for this press brief, which is a very important press brief. I just want to urge the motoring and general public to cooperate and to comply with all the necessary signage that will be in place. And as Superintendent Christopher mentioned, we expect you to also comply and obey the signs by the different wardens that will be operating along the routes. I thank you.
Very much, Assistant Superintendent. Well, let's hear from the Superintendent himself, Head of Operations, Mr. Paul Christopher.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, and thanks for the opportunity just to give that brief and closing remarks from the RGPF. Safety is all about all of us, and let us ensure that the signs and you know what have been placed and on the projects that we observe them. It is for our safety, and again, thanks for that opportunity to collaborate for the benefit of all and sundry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Paul Christopher. Mr. Nigel John, Project Coordinator for UKCIF.
Thank you. Just quickly, just to remind everyone listening and looking, those of us who are looking, that the project is our project. When I say our, I mean it's Grenada's project. There is going to be some temporary disruption, but it's actually for long-term overall benefit. And the more we recognize that this project is not put on for the purpose of disruption, is for the purpose of alleviating some of the challenges that persons, customers of the utility have been having for years, especially in the drier months when we have had dry seasons, in those years, like a year like last year, yeah? So that is why the project is put on. It is not here to be disruptive, but it is It is answering a question that has been asked of the government of Grenada. What are you doing about the challenges we have been having with respect to access to clean water in sufficient volume consistently? That is a purpose for the project. And if we view it in that regard, we would recognize that any grievance, any complaint would be received in that spirit, that we may make adjustments and improvements to lessen negative impact, but improve the overall delivery. And please, don't just communicate with the project when there is a grievance from the point of view of negative impact when we're complaining, but we're also quite open to suggestions that may be made. We are experts on the project, yes, but it does not mean that there are no experts not on the project. So we would actually look forward to receiving suggestions for improvement that may not be, is the genesis not because there is a challenge, but simply an observation where improvements can be made. And we would love to hear those as much as we would love to receive your complaints and address them as soon as possible. Thanks.
Very much, Mr. Nigel John. Mr. Wilcox?
In addition to this project, persons would observe that a lot has been happening underground. We've had excavations from Maribo to Tivoli. We've just completed the road repairs and so in Tufton Hall. Some weeks ago we did some sod turning in Carriacou and many more sod turning to come. So a lot is happening with multiple projects that we're implementing, and just want to, on behalf of the organization, just express our gratitude to the motoring public for their patience to date. As we've just outlined this project, a lot more inconveniences to come. So again, thank you for your continued patience to date. But as Engineer John mentioned, all of this is in the interest of NAWASA continuing with its goal, its aim, its vision, its mission to provide a reliable, adequate supply of water to the public and to Grenada as a whole. So again, thank you for your patience. But we are bettering our service quality, our water quality day by day with the implementation of this project. So again, we thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilcox. That's where we bring an official close to today's press conference. I would like to say a heartfelt thank you to the team from NAWASA, Mr. Wilcox and Nigel John, the team from the Royal Grenada Police Force, Superintendent Paul Christopher and Assistant Superintendent Randall Batiste, and Mr. Kevin Blash, CTO from the Ministry of Infrastructure. Your presence and expertise have helped to provide, I believe, clarity and reassurance on what lies ahead as we embark on this transformative project for Grenada. To the members of the media industry, Controy Gill, thank you for your continued partnership, and all other media houses for helping to keep the public very much informed. Your support continues to be critical to fostering transparency, building trust, and engaging our communities. To our viewers who tuned in online, whether on NAWASA's Facebook page, Mikey Live, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Government Information Service, any other media platform, we appreciate your interest and thank you for joining us. To the incredible team at Mikey Live, that provided us support with carrying this press conference live. We thank you very much. We appreciate the hard work behind the scenes to make this press conference a success. Would also like to say a special thank you to the team at the Houses of Parliament for allowing us the opportunity to host this very important press conference right here. So this project represents progress, it represents resilience, and it represents partnership. So on behalf of the entire team at NOASA, all the key stakeholders present with us here today, we want to tell you thank you so much, and we look forward to your continued engagement as we continue to move Grenada forward. Have a safe and productive afternoon and an enjoyable weekend. Thank you.